Hi there, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to an unplanned live stream with me solo. So brace yourself for this one, folks, because hi Chris and hi Ozzy. Nice to see you on the stream. As I said, I had no plans to do a stream tonight. I am doing a stream tomorrow night. I'll tell you a little bit about it in a second. But sometimes you see something or you read something, and you just think, this needs to be dealt with. So there's a story I'm going to share with you in a minute or two, and we'll go through it together. But honestly, it absolutely enrages me. And I think it'll enrage you as well. You may, if you've seen it, or maybe you haven't seen it yet. But, you know, the state of this country at times deeply, deeply concerns me. And I just wonder where the hell we're going to as a country. So as we commence, just to say, I'll go through the normal routine. If you're watching this on YouTube only, because it's not on Facebook, share it, hit the subscribe button. Just FYI, YouTube are being very naughty with notifications, so make sure you hit the notifications. Do that. Social media links are down below. You can see me in different platforms in case something ever happens here. You never know what happens. And if you do like this, hit the thumbs up. Thumbs up helps the algorithms. Helping the algorithms helps me. So the best thing you can do for me is hit the algorithm. Oh, the next best thing you can do is altnewsmedia.net/donate and drop £1 in the hat if you can do that. And if you don't want to do that, of course, the other thing you can do is you can hit Super Chat. So look, that's the preamble done. Right. Brace yourself on this one. This is a story that I saw about half an hour ago, and I want to put it up on the screen. So if I can share it with you, yeah. So this is what's got me riled up. A pensioner has been given a COVID breach warning by the police over a socially distanced cup of tea. Hi, John. Good evening, by the way. A socially distanced cup of tea. So let that sink in for a moment. We live in a country now where pensioners can't have cups of tea socially distanced from their friends or people that they live with. That's now against the law. Right, let's go into this story a little bit because it says so much. Jeff, you're right. It says so much. So the story is here that a pensioner has been given a warning after having a cup of tea in her communal garden. 82-year-old lady was visited by police in her house that night. She'd been reported for drinking tea outside with neighbours from her sheltered housing complex. Look, what sort of a country do we live in? How have we got to a country in a year where people report on their elderly neighbours for having a cup of tea outside, not inside, outside, in the garden, socially distanced? What was the problem here? Were there too many of them? Were there half a dozen elderly ladies sitting around? Let's move on a wee bit. So the lady was watching TV. This is grim. This 82-year-old was in her bed, right, at 9:45 at night. She was in her bed and there was a knock at the door, and it was the police. Now, obviously, 82-year-olds aren't used to getting a visit from the police. I guess anybody in the stream here wouldn't be very happy about getting a visit from the police at that time of night. And I don't think any of us are 82 years old. But this is what happened, this lady. So they came knocking at her door, which is an outrage, by the way. Okay, we can just move it on a wee bit. I know her. So just moving on. So she was quite frightened. Well, of course she was quite frightened. Who wouldn't be? Also, by the way, she's deaf. She's half deaf, which obviously loss of hearing with age and all of that. So she didn't really know what this was about. But there was two police officers standing there with their masks on, and they asked if they could come in and speak to her. I'm sorry. Hi, Harry, by the way. Hi, Graham. This is outrageous. This is a Stasi state. This is a police state. This is literally a police state. And it's a police state being driven by busybodies who've got nothing better to do than to dob in an 82-year-old for the crime of having a cup of tea outside outside in the garden. So let's move on a wee bit. It goes on to say, she trying to read here. She ended up showing them an out-of-date driving license. Says that's sad. That's all she had. Her only form of identification, an out-of-date driving license. Yeah, this is the bit. Thanks, Jed. They told the lady's daughter says they told mother that if it were to happen again, she would be fined. Seriously, enough of this one. It's just, to me, it's disgusting. It blows away any confidence that we've got left in the police. It speaks to the fact that we've got an authoritarian imperial government, which is, just making this sort of stuff happen. Police received a report of a potential COVID breach on Tuesday on Tuesday the 9th, suspecting that there was a gathering involving people from multiple households in a residential garden. Well, it was sheltered housing and it was outdoors. What have we become? What absolute busybodies, Joe. How to those of you joining, this is like really, just unbelievable to me. Here's several points in this one. Point number one, Chris Davis makes it. What's the point of the vaccine? The lady was 82. She has more than likely had 2 double doses of vaccine. So there you go. First thing. So the lady's had the double vaccine, but oh no, that's not enough. She still has to stay away from at that age, her friends, probably her few friends. Billy's Piper teeth. Look, hello. Well, no, goodbye. This is the sort of policing that I can't support. I can't support the bullying of elderly people, vulnerable elderly people living in sheltered housing accommodation, outside having a cup of tea. For God's sake, what have we become? What has Boris Johnson turned this country into? That's what you need to ask yourself. And it's not going to get any better. 80 pensioners, senior people, and senior citizens being called on by the police. And you're right, Billy. It is vile. It's degenerate. It's Stasi-like. It really, really is. I think I'm right, Jed, in thinking this was Gloucestershire Police Force. What sort of, have they nothing better to do in Gloucestershire Police Force? I believe that's the one that it is. Yes, it is. Gloucestershire Police. Seriously, Gloucestershire Police Force need to take a really good look at themselves. If this is what they're sending officers out, can you imagine the officers on that job? Okay, we've got a job. Yeah, what are we going to do? Yeah, we've got an 82-year-old. She was spotted out. What was she doing? She was drinking tea with her friends. Where was she doing it? In the garden. Right. Quick, turn the siren on. Off we go. We're going to take this one down. That is the sort of country that we are becoming. And Ozzy, you're right, it is elder abuse. It's also abhorrent, I think, to British values. It's not. It may be what Boris Johnson and his regime wants, but it's not what we want. And it's not what I believe. It's just not compatible with this values of this country. So that's what we've become. We've become a country where it's okay for the police to come and bully 82-year-olds, visiting them at night when they're in their beds. Let's be honest about it. At that age, most people are tucked up at 6 or 7 o'clock at night. That's just the way it is. Billy, you may be right. An arrest is an arrest to them, but it's deplorable. That's what it is. It's disgusting. And the fact is that I know we touched on this in some previous streams to get, for example, to do with the policing of the Clapham Common issue in terms of, well, the police were only doing that which the government has instructed them to do. But that's not exactly true either, is it? Let's be honest about it. We've got tactical policing. So I suppose if she was a lady of ethnic origin, maybe it mightn't have been as keen to do it. But I'm suspecting she wasn't. I'm suspecting this was an easy one. This was an easy. I wanted to go home to the station and celebrate, scaring the living daylights and frightening this very elderly lady. And so the fear aspect disgusts me and makes me mad. Really, really angry about that. Yeah, James, how low can they go? Well, I think even lower probably, because as I say, number one, her crime was to have a cup of tea outdoors, socially distanced. See, this is the thing. We should never have accepted any of this. We should never have accepted the social distancing. We should never have accepted the wearing of the mask. Well, of course, some of us haven't. We shouldn't have accepted a thing of it, because it's eased in a police state, and that's what you've got. You mightn't call it that, but it is a police state. Yeah, Craig Roberts says it's an easy target. Well, it is, of course. 82-year-olds, BLM activists, maybe not just quite the easy target. Maybe if you get aggressive with them, officer, maybe you'll get what's for back. Now, I don't approve of violence towards the police. Don't get me wrong, but I don't approve of terrorizing 82-year-olds, and this is terrorizing 82-year-olds. Point two, as I said, she's been vaccinated. So what the hell is the problem? The lady has more than likely had both vaccines. And we've been told by this lying, conniving government that, well, once you take your jab, you're going to be okay. But you're not going to be okay. You're still going to have to. We saw it with the clowns at P&O the other day. P&O Cruises saying, oh, good news, we're sailing from May the 21st or whatever it is, around the coast of Britain. Oh, that's going to be exciting. And by the way, only vaccinated people can come on. And by the way, once you're on board our cruise ship, you got to wear your mask and you got to socially distance. Come on. Can you see where this one's going, folks? You know, we're not getting out of this. There is no way out unless people say enough. And what makes you say enough? Well, what makes me say, well, I've said enough for a long time, but honestly, when I'm saying this story, I just thought to myself, I can't believe this is the sort of country I'm living in. And people will say, yeah, well, Ozzy says she might catch COVID because vax is rubbish. Well, that is of course a point. I hadn't thought of that actually. Well, in fact, actually, you're absolutely right. Ozzy is right to say that because the vaccine, as we know, is not proven to stop infection or stop transmission. The only thing it does is, I guess, it stops you getting the worst symptoms of it. And that's assuming that it works okay. So that is possibly a point. But all of this, to my mind, you can blame the police, and I do blame Gloucestershire Police. Shame on the chief constable, shame on the officers, shame on everybody involved in the bullying of this 82-year-old woman. There's your first thing. But shame on the government, shame on Priti Patel, shame on Boris Johnson, shame on the lot of them, because they are the people that ultimately carry responsibility for what the police do. This is what Rebecca Butler and I talked about on Monday night. You know, you can't distance the politicians from the implementation of their regulations. So, yeah, well, sometimes, Billy, I do get angry, you know. I used to be disgusted, now I try to be amused, but I'm not always amused, and I'm not amused at this at all. So arguably, Ozzy has a point. But nonetheless, the government's told people, take your vaccine and you'll be fine. Now we're discovering even the most vulnerable age group, which we keep hearing them bleating on about, the most vulnerable age group can still be dobbed in, can still get a visit from the police, can still potentially be fined. So if she goes out tomorrow and has another cup of tea in a garden or some piece of grass, and there's, I don't know, half a dozen elderly people sitting around, that's reason for a fine. Maybe send her to prison. What about that? Or, I mean, I understand it's a £10,000 fine potentially. So, yeah, why not hit her with 10 grand fine, Gloucestershire Police? So, hit her with that. By the way, you know, and send her to jail. Yeah, I mean, we have to set a standard, don't we? How absolutely disgusting this is. How fallen this country has been thanks to Boris Johnson. It is a real low for the United Kingdom. Honestly, this is the sort of thing that might happen in the former Soviet Union or in North Korea. And that's what we're becoming. Can you see what this is what we are? We have become, and we are rapidly becoming an authoritarian tyrannical state with the police enforcing the tyranny, and all the media does is cheerlead for it. You know, I'm sure, like Boris, I'm outraged about this. most journalists, I reckon, so-called journalists, they'll just go along with us and say, well, she knew what the rules were. You know, you got to follow the rules. This is what ends up, you know, frankly, we saw where that ended up in Nazi Germany. Just obey the rules, just follow instructions, just conform, just comply. But that's what we're doing. We've conformed, too many have conformed, too many have complied, and this is where it's ending up, where it's not safe for an 82-year-old to go out and have a cup of tea in the garden. She shouldn't be having a cup of tea, by the way, in the garden. She should be having it in the warmth, indoors, because it's still March. It's, you know, it's not exactly tropical here in the UK at this time of the year. So she shouldn't have to go outside. She should be, it's you know, at that age, let's be honest here, at 82, you know, you're beginning to get near the end of the line. Hopefully not in this case, and hopefully, you know, we'll all live to be 90 or 100, but 82 is a fair innings. It's certainly above average, I think, for the UK. So she should be able to meet with her other friends and her family and whatever. City Trolls right. Yeah, I see Craig Roberts' comments. Granny is a well, okay, you cheer me up here. Granny is a potential granny killer. But she's not, of course, she's not. The killers here, the people causing the misery and making life so intolerable, it's the politicians. It's the politicians. So, you know, I think the police probably have to go along with the instructions. Although I think there's a degree of latitude. And actually, there is a degree of latitude because we saw the whole furore last week over the Clapham Common protest. You remember, I covered that on Monday night. And the police were accused of being too heavy-handed when all those harpies, those screeching, left-wing, police-hating, man-hating feministas and actresses gathered at Clapham Common to posture and preen over the murder of the lady concerned. So the politicians sort of said, well, yeah, maybe the police handled that a bit too rough, which is why when there was a subsequent demonstration at Parliament Square, they backed off. So so there's no consistency here, you know. So on some occasions the police might enforce COVID regs, in other cases they might not. Well, that's not how the law works. You either enforce it for everybody, or you get rid of that law. That's how it should be. James is right. We are becoming like East Germany by the day. All the time, Bojo sits in his nest in Downing Street and he tells us, "Oh, hey, folks, you know, we're going to get everyone vaccinated. Don't worry about the fact that we've had to pause the vaccine, blah, 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 during April for reasons which are a little bit vague. Apparently, India is to blame. I don't think so. But yeah, he sits there and tells us that even doing that, don't worry, you'll still get your freedom right. Come on, 3 weeks to flatten the curve. Do you remember that this time last year? 3 weeks to flatten the curve. It's going to be past a year soon since he came out with that particular deceit. They're lying to us. Johnson's lying to us. His ministers are lying to us. They're laughing at us, frankly. And the reason they laugh is because people comply. The reason they must feel good is because somebody dobbed this 82-year-old in. Who would do that? Joe Cool says, hi guys, didn't know you're on, no notification. Yeah, just to say, guys, just while I've got you all here, that YouTube is mucking about with notifications. So you got to make sure that you hit the bell. I think that's what I need to say on that one, so that you know when I'm going live. But as I say, back on topic. Like this is the appalling state this country is falling into. And Jed, you know, yeah, it's. The government has very successfully exploited people against people. I've done it. They've spent a year at it, and they've completely succeeded. You know, so the people wearing the masks hate people like me. I'm sure they do, or some of them do anyway. Thanks to Legacy 1830, by the way. The broadcasts are indeed frequent. I'm glad you like that. Yeah, Chris says, now that Boris has his new protest laws, how long before he extends the law? Yeah, well, look, okay, Chris, and everybody, if anybody thinks that the lockdown is going to be eased, you're living in cloud cuckoo land. In actual fact, here in the People's Republic of Northern Ireland today, we had the half-wit health minister, a guy called Robin Swan. I mean, a guy whose IQ, I've seen things lying on their backs on the bottom of ponds with higher IQs than the health minister we've got here. But he came on, he said, don't worry, we will still be, everyone will be vaccinated by the end of July in Northern Ireland. I've got news for him. I won't, and I know many other people that won't. So I don't know where you get that fantasy from, Swan. But the second thing he said was, and get this is what you need to understand. He said, well, because of the issues around the vaccine, it would be reprehensible of us if we were to, drum roll, ease lockdown. You get it? So this is what they're going to do. So they're going to make absolutely sure that they just keep this one rolling. They know that once they get us to August and we're heading into September, that's when lockdown fully comes back, full on. There'll be new, more scary variants. There might be an increase in deaths. The reason for those increase in deaths, however, is something very, very different to what they may say. But so they've basically got, you know, the way I see it, they've got June, July, and August to sort of muddle through, and they don't want to give us back our freedoms then. So that's why they will come up with these, you know, supply chain issues. Meanwhile, everybody worships AstraZeneca. It's wonderful, isn't it? What a fantastic vaccine it's proven to be. So yeah, so we live in a Stasi UK with Johnson at the head of it, and this awful Conservative Party which cares nothing for people's just freedom. I mean, you know, the freedom to have a cup of tea. Hi, Graham, by the way. Thanks, guys, for being on the stream. People having a cup of tea is quintessentially British, isn't it? I mean, it's how other nationalities mock us in a way. So we sit around having a cup of tea. This 82-year-old, all she wanted to do was have a cup of tea with a couple of friends outdoors in the cold. Yeah. So, oh, thanks, Jed. I appreciate that. You know, yeah. So, Jed, it's the small things that can annoy me most. I get all the big picture stuff. You know, I understand all those, and I know you folks all do as well. But when you just read a little story about this lady, and I just thought, I said to my wife, I had no intention to do this tonight, but I read the story and I thought, no, I'm gonna have a go at this one because it's just really, really annoying to me that this is happening. And you're right, Billy. It's not a small, and yeah, it's just one person's experience. It's just an 82-year-old lady's experience. Let me tell you, and I'm sure folks you'll agree with me in this one. 82-year-olds should not have the police coming to their door at 9:45 at night. Masked officers at your door. As I say, how would anyone in this stream feel if it? Because it's 25 past 8 now. So imagine in another hour's time, if there's a knock at the door and there's 2 masked police officers, how would you feel? I would be alarmed, to put it mildly. I would be alarmed. Yes, thanks, Craig. Thanks for your comments, by the way, guys. I appreciate that. I'm glad you know, sometimes I worry if I just talk about one thing, maybe in the greater scheme of political comment, it doesn't seem big enough. But it is big enough because it cuts to the essential rights of people in this country. In any country. Yeah, I agree. Somebody says, Legacy says, I wouldn't answer the door. Well, yeah, you'd be quite right and quite within your rights to do that. But here's the thing. What are the police doing anyway, carrying out this kind of thing? Like, seriously, is there no other crime? Did COVID kill crime? I know it's killed liberty and democracy, but has it killed crime and the flu? Those are a few things that COVID's killed. But has it killed other crime? Is there literally nothing else? Of all the burglars, are they all indoors now, hiding under the stairs, you know, staying safe? Is that what they're doing? I don't think so. Burglars, all kinds of, you know, are the grooming gangs? What about the grooming gangs? Is there any of those in Gloucestershire, I wonder? Or is it just, you know, again, have they all been good little boys staying indoors now that Boris has told them? I don't think so. I don't think so for one moment. It is symptomatic of the fact that this UK has become a failed state in the past 12 months because of the authoritarianism off the prevailing government. Now, I'm not saying that Labour would be any better. They'd be probably worse. But that still does. Two wrongs never made a right. Open dialogue just says the police are now Stasi. You're right, they are. They've become that. But they've only become that because the government in power has directed them. And yeah, to be fair, on the police now, some of them have embraced this with alacrity. Like, let's not forget, I did have 2 police officers masked at my door asking me what was I doing in a garden centre with a mask on, without a mask. Last September, I had that experience. So, yeah, but I mean, I'm able to take that, and I'm sure many of you would. But I'm thinking of an 82-year-old. A lot of you watching this, think of your parents or your grandparents. How do you think they will respond? I can only imagine. I mean, my parents are no longer on this earth, but I could only imagine how they would respond in their final years to having police come to their door. So I'm sorry, this is just unacceptable to me. I cannot in any way tolerate or accept, excuse anything in regard to this here. So, it's a terrible situation we live in as a country, that's where we can get to. Essentially, police bullying octogenarians. Come on. And Boris Johnson droning on the TV about, oh, folks, I'm getting my jab tomorrow. Why are you getting your jab tomorrow, Boris Johnson? You've had COVID. You've recovered from COVID. Has COVID now rewritten the rules of medicine? If you've had the bloody thing and your body therefore will have created antibodies to it and you don't need the vaccine. This is the problem. This is a problem I've got actually with so many who have had it and still insist, but we're going off to get the jab. The jab. It's not a jab. We're going off to get the jab. And we're going to feel better then. And it's not going to hurt. I put a video out earlier today about celebs telling us, oh, Dolly Parton told us it wasn't going to hurt. We had Jane Fonda telling us it wasn't going to hurt. Ricky Gervais, it's not going to hurt. Are these people, this enrages me as well, as if anyone should pay any attention to what these celebs, who presumably somebody's coordinating it all. I wonder who's coordinating it all. Wonder what the incentives are for these celebrities to go public. Any thoughts on what that might be? So, I think that Boris Johnson, Julia Hartley-Brewer, she's another one. I think she's off tomorrow, or is it Saturday, to get her jab. Julia, I support the vaccine process so much, but I don't support the lockdown. Have I good news for you, Julia Hartley-Brewer? You don't get a choice. It's not a question of, Julia, we can ease the lockdown, but we do have to have our vaccine. No, it doesn't work like that, Julia. It's all about get your vaccine and we're keeping the lockdown. And once we've got you vaccinated up, Julia, you'll be getting your booster and then further things as time moves along. I think we do know who's coordinating. Well, I'm not sure I totally agree with you in that, but I do think it's being coordinated, for sure. And I'm really, really opposed to it. So as I say, I just wanted to come on and I hope you don't mind me ranting for 30 minutes. I try to be a bit more considered, but when you get angry about something, it's good to let that anger out. And that's actually, one of the things that's really bad. And, someone mentioned the fact these new laws that the Parliament are bringing in. And, if you can't demonstrate, or either like this on a screen, or, go to a public rally and express your discontent, that's the escape valve in a democracy. That's how we express ourselves. And so, if we're going to be denied that, I really fear for where we are going to as a country. So a few comments. I just want to say, before I wrap up here, thanks, by the way, folks, for your kind comments. But I didn't mean that. I meant every word that I've said, by the way. Some people say to me, oh, he just does it for effect. Trust me, it's not for effect. I mean every word. And actually, Graham, you're dead right. Of course, there'll be an annual jab that will follow. Wee bit of additional jabbing. What's to worry about with that? Keep getting. So just think about this. And actually, I did put up a video. I hope you might watch it. earlier, a couple of hours ago, I think, on the whole COVID zero and carbon zero and COVID zero, COVID strategies. And fundamentally, this all comes together like this. By closing society down, by shutting the economy down, by stopping international flights, travel, stopping people going on their holidays, by all these measures that have been taken by Johnson and his administration, guess what? Yeah, the UK carbon emissions, I think they've fallen by 11%. So we are halfway there towards getting to this great goal of 50 to zero carbon by 2050, or is it going to be 2040, or maybe be at 2030? But someone says, post a photo of your vaccine card on social media, folks. Yeah, I've seen some of them doing that. God, they haven't got a clue, have they? There's a song I know starts "Sheep to the slaughter," and my aren't there many of them. But back to the point I was saying there. The COVID regulations have caused a reduction in carbon emissions because our economy's basically closed down, or large elements of it are. So then comes along. So that's as a consequence of COVID regulations. And then the carbon guy, the zero carbon guys are saying, yeah, but we've got to keep it going. Remember, if holidays and stuff take off again, well, emissions will go off. So can you see how this I'm surely not, I'm not the only one who sees this. They have no intention of allowing you to go back on your holiday. If you think you're going to be flying off, tooling off to Greece for a couple of weeks in the summer, as long as you're good boys and girls between now and then, you're kidding yourself. It won't happen. Yes, I know Turkey, for example, is saying you can come here and you don't need anything. And good for Turkey, by the way. And that's fine. British government has to let you. But if the British government lets you tootle off on your flight and allows you to start working normally again, then I'm afraid, yes, Billy Piper, he says all his flying club miles have expired. Yeah. You say this is the reality of it. You're not going to use your flying club miles. These two things are converging: zero COVID, zero carbon, and they're going to and the consequences of this is going to be essentially. City Troll says, "Who the hell wants to go to Turkey?" I've never been there. I have to say, I've never been to Turkey. Would I go there if I could get a week in the sun and stay somewhere nice that I thought was safe and free of potential jihadi attacks? Because it is Turkey. I don't know. I might think about it if I'm honest. So long as my conditions are not wearing masks, not taking any jabs, and that's it. So, yeah, some comments here. Yeah, John, I see your comments here, folks. And clearly, I'm not alone, which is nice to know. And that's what I wanted to say about that lady. Back to the 82-year-old lady. She's not alone either, because just as they've come for her because she had a cup of tea, they'll come for you, they'll come for me, and they have actually come for me, for doing the most mundane of things imaginable. If I had said to you a year ago, hey, listen, you could potentially go to prison for having a cup of tea out in your back garden, would you have believed me? Would you have believed me? Yeah, Florida actually sounds a better bet, actually, and to be fair, than Turkey. Been to Florida, like Florida. Did you ever think that was possible? But that's where we are, a year on, and a year on, we're now thinking, gosh, it'll be great. Maybe the government will let us have 1 week's holiday. So that's what's happened in the space of a year. Chris Davis rightly points out, good manners and bad breath will get you nowhere. Yeah, and I know the song that comes from as well. Chris Davis. So that's how things have changed in the space of a year. So I'm afraid Julia Hartley-Brewer and people like her are wrong. They're leading you up the wrong path if they think that simply by vaccinating all the vulnerable, we get back to normal. This 82-year-old was a vulnerable lady at 82, at that grand old age, right? I'm sure she's had her vaccines. It wasn't enough to stop the police. Knock on her door. What do you think you were doing, having a cup of tea in the open with a couple of other 70 or 80-year-olds or whatever? So, that is that's how much things have changed in a year. And so I don't think that in the next couple of months, that's going to ease off. Now, I know I've got my friend City Troll here on from the States, and I know, and I'm so delighted that in states like Florida, for example, and I believe Texas as well, and some other US states, they have walked away from lockdown regulations, even though Biden doesn't like it. But so, I mean, that's brilliant. But is that going to happen here in the UK? Well, you tell me, folks, you're on the stream. I say it won't. I do not believe for one moment that we're getting out of this one. This UK government is central to the Great Reset. I'm afraid it is. There we go. I said the awful words. It's not, anyway, the Great Reset, it's a matter of public policy at the World Economic Forum. So just go and look it up. Any critics who come on to whinge at me, just go and look it up. It's just there. And I do appreciate that some leftists in particular love the idea of big authority telling everybody what to do. Somebody says, Julia Hardy-Brewer blocked me on Twitter. She never blocked me on Twitter. She never followed me either, by the way, back in those years. So a couple of questions here. Billy says, he thinks this subservience won't last. I really, really hope that it doesn't, because otherwise we're all slaves. Simple as that. You can call it a United Kingdom. It's just one big open-air prison. Pete says, what happens on June 21st? Prediction. It'll be extended. It won't be. It's not going to be happening. It won't happen. Look at Scotland. I mean, okay, let's just briefly talk about Scotland. I know, by the way, the Sturgeon breaking news tonight. I've seen that about the fact she's been found to have misled the Scottish Parliament. Did you see that? Wonder will she resign? But she's opening up Scotland. And how is she opening up Scotland? Good news, the pubs can open, but they can't serve alcohol. Please, to answer your question, Pete, that's where we're going. And Joseph Curtis is right. They have no intention of giving up. They're not giving up control. They've got so much power, folks, that they can bully an 82-year-old woman. And only guys like me come on and get annoyed about it. Where's the politicians? Any politician in Gloucestershire should be as outraged as me. Any one of them. And they won't be, because they don't give a toss. That's why. Chris is suggesting there'll be further COVID mutations. Oh, I'm sure of that. Further COVID mutations, problems with the supply chain that just mean we just have to edge it up. And I mean, I laughed at this actually. Hancock saying, because of these supply issues, and they're blaming India. India is not to blame in any regard. This is just the British government deflecting, by the way. But someone says, no alcohol pubs are called coffee shops. Well, yeah, which is bad news for the companies that want to sell alcohol, of course. But, they're doing things like opening pubs and not having alcohol. Maybe you'll be able to go to, well, you won't be able to go to pub concerts. You might be able to go to restaurants, but I'm not even sure about that. Because remember, if you jump in your car and you go to a restaurant, you go down the pub, go to the cinema, go to a concert, all these things, that means carbon emissions. And this is where it's linked. To go back to the point, you should watch my little video on it, please, if you haven't already. It's just me trying to sort of bring together, and I know other people have spoken about it, because I know it is essentially all the one agenda. So so look, we're going to wrap up here. I'll actually bring up the video actually. I think the one where zero carbon, zero COVID, it's all the same. There it is there, folks. You can tune in to this video delight if you get a second. But it is essentially the Britain, you see, this is the point. Britain and Boris's regime is central to the zero carbon agenda, to the green agenda. So we're screwed in the back of that. Why are they picking on breweries? Amazon can't do breweries. Well, that's right. We've talked about all these things. Yes, again, good comment from Chris Davis. It's not the Temple Bar anymore. It's the temperance bars. And Billy, you're right. I mean, I know there's lots of stuff going on between the European Union countries, but they're not all European Union countries, because Norway, Iceland, they're not in the European Union, right? But there's a lot of issues infighting between these countries. I do get all that there, but in the final analysis, I think that this whole marrying together of zero COVID, which is what Ireland's committed itself to, trying to commit to, Scotland's trying to commit to, I reckon Boris will try and commit to as well. And he'll say, listen, folks, to keep you safe, we've got to just keep on going. Just, you bought my 3 weeks and it's 12 months on. So what else will you stupid people buy? That is the reality of it. Yeah, City Troll, they do sell Amazon does sell homebrew kits, by the way. The point about going to the pub, by the way, is it's the fact that humans get together. It's like us doing all this, except we're in a big room and we've all got a pint of beer, or a glass of wine, or whatever it is, mineral water if you're teetotal, and we can all talk together. That's what government doesn't want to see. So look, folks, that's it. Just to say before I go, I have got a live stream tomorrow night. I've got the For Britain party leader, Anne-Marie Waters, on with me. So thanks for reminding me of that, Graham. So Anne-Marie joins me at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. And it'll be good to have Anne-Marie on, actually, because to be honest, I think she is also a very fearless and outspoken critic of so much that's wrong with this country. So, I'm not party political aligned, as you all know. I leave it for you to decide who you might want to vote for or not. It's not my business to tell you that. But it's certainly one to tune in tomorrow night. I think it'll be good fun. Anne-Marie and I always have a great chat. So please come along tomorrow night. It will be properly planned. I won't be giving my producer Jed a heart attack by saying 25 minutes before I go live. I'm thinking of going live tonight. So that's going to be tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. So look, thank you very much for being here on the stream with me tonight. As on this unplanned one. I really appreciate all your comments. I appreciate the fact that you all seen the importance of this treatment of this elderly lady by the British police and the British political class. And, as I say, it's her today, but it could be any of us tomorrow. So that's where we all have to stand up and say our piece. So look, I've spoken nonstop here now for not too long. So without further ado, I'll wish you all a good night, folks, and catch up with you tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. So thanks for your support. Bye now. See you then.